Just like that, keep it authentic. Just keep it authentic. Yeah, it's like that. Keep it authentic. Just keep it authentic. I'm the one. I'm the one that be giving these bloggers the business. Straight facts, no cap, I just keep it authentic. Breaking down the latest news with an authentic view. If you're spreading false narratives, then we don't fuck with you. Guess I'll be original, not subliminal. Need me on your team for the views, I'm pivotal. Cause all the fake shit is typical. Never been faked, all my DNA is digital. I've been in like a 96 5% crossover. Off my own pivot, step back and I crossover. Cause all the fake shit is typical. I'm the one that be giving these bloggers the business. Straight facts, no cap, I just keep it authentic. Breaking down the latest news with an authentic view. If you're spreading false narratives, then we don't fuck with you. Keep it authentic, keep it authentic. Ooh, it's the Keep It Authentic podcast. Keep it authentic, keep it authentic. It's the Keep It Authentic podcast. Keep it authentic, hey, Keep It Authentic podcast. Keep it authentic. It's the Keep It Authentic podcast. I'm the one that be giving these bloggers the business. Just keep it authentic, hey. Just keep it authentic, hey. Just keep it authentic. I'm the one that be giving these bloggers the business. It's like that. Keep it authentic. Just keep it authentic. I'm the one that be giving these bloggers the business. I'm the one that be giving these bloggers the business. I'm the one that be giving these bloggers the business.
What's good? What's good? What's good? We back with some more content. Today, we covering day 5 of the Julio Foolio Trial. It's amazing that this trial done started and it's been going on 5 days already. You know, Foolio was killed in what, 2023? I want to say June of 2023. You know, so it took him what, 3 years to get this trial going. But we're here. We covering day 5. And first of all, before we get into the coverage, you know, of them in the courtroom, we're going to go over what we know thus far. You know, we know that there's, 5 individuals being charged with this case. Those 5 individuals being Elisa Andrews, Sean Gaithright, Isaiah Chance, Rashad, and Davion Murphy. Okay, so what we know thus far, Alicia Andrews, she's been convicted already. She was charged with first-degree murder, but she was convicted of a lesser crime of manslaughter. So she's been charged already. I don't believe she's been sentenced yet. I believe her sentencing is coming up fairly soon here. But I believe she also testified, you know, against the other co-defendants of hers. But we're going to get into the information of what we know thus far. Let's get into it. All right, so here I done pulled up, you know, this search engine. And it's basically letting us know what we know thus far. So I'm pretty sure I zoomed in so y'all can see it. So it says what we know so far in the Julio Foolio murder trial. Alicia Andrews, one of the 5 suspects charged in the June 2024. So he was killed in 2024. My bad, not 2023. Okay, Alicia Andrews, one of the 5 suspects charged in the June 2024 killing of Jacksonville rapper Julio Foolio, whose real name is Charles Jones, has been convicted of manslaughter and not guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. She faces sentencing on December 8th of 2025. So she may have been sentenced already, you know, but I haven't really seen anything on that. But let's continue with the case background. It says Foolio was ambushed and shot outside a Tampa hotel near the University of South Florida while celebrating his 26th birthday. Investigators say the killing was linked to a multi-year gang war in Jacksonville, with Foolio a member of the 6 Block gang, in open rivalry with the Aces Top Killers gang, which is ATK, and 1200 gangs. Andrews' 4 co-defendants were members of ATK or 1200. The prosecution's case. Prosecutors allege Andrews traveled from Jacksonville to Tampa with her boyfriend Isaiah Chance and 3 others affiliated with rival gangs. Excuse me. All right, so excuse me. It says she helped track and surveil Foolio as he moved between Tampa nightclubs using her phone and car to avoid detection. And she was also present during the ambush and may have acted as a lookout. Phone records reportedly show Andrews was with the group during surveillance. The defense's position is Andrews testified that she was simply on a trip with her boyfriend, who she described as controlling and abusive, had no knowledge of the murder plot and was not a part of any gang, did not intend to aid the suspects. She believes she was just visiting friends. Her attorneys argue there is no physical evidence tying her directly to the shooting and that her presence was coincidental. Excuse me. All right, now my only problem with this defense case, right? Okay, she's saying, she testified that she believed that she was just simply on a trip to Tampa with her boyfriend. Okay, so let's entertain that notion for a minute, right? Okay, if you on a trip somewhere, right? Okay, you've already stated that your boyfriend is controlling and abusive. So now it's possible that because of the way he is, you know what I'm saying, he might not have told you anything. But in most cases, right, if you are a couple with somebody, right, and y'all going on a trip, usually your girl knows where y'all going, you know, unless it's a surprise, like it may be her birthday or something like that, and you might want to surprise her by taking her on a nice trip. So you might not, you know, let her know where y'all going. You might just tell her, hey, we going to, you know, Orlando. She don't know exactly what y'all going to Orlando for. She just know y'all going to Orlando. Okay, but in most cases, right, you know, you're gonna let her know, hey babe, you know, we going to Orlando, we're gonna go to Disney World, whoop-de-whoop, whatever. Okay, so I find it hard to believe that you took a trip all the way to Tampa, not knowing what you was going down there for. You know what I'm saying? But once again, if the evidence cannot prove that, you know, you knew ahead of time, you know, which the evidence obviously didn't prove that, because she was found not guilty of the conspiracy to commit murder part. Meaning basically she didn't conspire, or the evidence didn't show that she conspired with the rest of these guys to go down to Tampa, track Foolio down, and unalive him. You know what I'm saying? Now, she said she had no knowledge of the murder plot and was not a part of any gang. Now, I believe that she wasn't a part of any gang. I believe that part. Now, as far as not having any knowledge of what was going on, I don't believe that, because there's been reports coming that have already came out before she even went on trial and during her trial, where it stated that, you know, she stated herself that she didn't like Foolio and she wanted him unalived. You know what I'm saying? So I'm having a hard time believing that she didn't have any knowledge of it. But once again, the evidence did not prove that. So that's why she beat the conspiracy charge. Okay, did not intend to aid the suspects. She believed she was just visiting friends. That's a possibility. I'm not going to say that that wasn't the case. I'm just saying that, it's hard to believe because you had such a disdain and such a dislike for Foolio. So it's hard to believe that you didn't know that these guys who are a part of the opposition gang that Julio Foolio belonged to. Julio Foolio was a part of 6 Block. ATK and 1200, those are opposition gangs of 6 Block. So you all of these guys that you with, they from the opposing gang. So I just kind of find it hard to believe that you didn't know nothing. Like you just went on this trip completely blind. You didn't know nothing about nothing, and you didn't question, why you just going from location to location. Y'all not really going any place. Y'all went from one nightclub to another nightclub, but didn't go inside either nightclub. You know what I'm saying? So, like me, if it's me, right, I'm going to be questioning, like, okay, look, why are we going all these different places, but we ain't going in nowhere? Like, what's going on? Like, what's the plan here? You know what I'm saying? But let's keep on reading the information. The courtroom developments. Okay, Judge Michelle Cisco, I guess that's the judge, that, presided over her trial. She criticized the defense for allegedly failing to properly sequester witnesses, calling it inexcusable. Okay, so basically, the defense on her side, you know what I'm saying, the judge was kind of upset with them, saying that they didn't properly sequester the witnesses, and she called it inexcusable. Tensions arose over alleged disrespectful courtroom behavior from prosecutors towards defense counsel. Emotional testimony from Foolio's friend described the final moments of the shooting, showing him and his friend Xavier covered in blood. Okay, now the guy that they're talking about is his name is Gino Norris, I believe. He testified, that he went to Tampa with Foolio to celebrate his birthday. He also testified that he took one shot. I don't know if it was at the hotel or at one of the clubs that they was at, but he took one shot and that was it. He fell asleep in the car, and then when they got to the hotel, that's when he was awoken by the gunshots, which he thought at the time they had gotten into a car accident. And then when he woke up, he said he looked at the windshield and seen the bullet holes in there. And then him and the Xavier Edwards guy, I think his name is, they got out the car and ran into the hotel, you know what I'm saying, screaming for help, whatever. So he testified to that, and he said that they were unaware of who the shooters were. They were unaware if the shooters followed them into the hotel or whatever. So they ran into the hotel lobby screaming for help. Nobody helped them. They hit the elevator and just went to the 3rd floor trying to get away. You know what I'm saying? He said when they got to the 3rd floor, his buddy Xavier Edwards, he collapsed up against a wall, and was just like, hey, check my head, make sure I ain't shot in my head, don't let me die, whatever. Okay, so he testified. Now, the next steps, it says Andrew's sentencing is set for December 8th of last year. So I believe she's been sentenced already. The remaining 4 co-defendants are scheduled for trial next year, which their trial is going on right now. So in summary, the jury found Andrews guilty of manslaughter but not conspiracy based on her alleged role in tracking and surveilling the victim. Prosecutors see her as an unwitting accomplice in a gang-related killing. That defense maintains she was unaware of the plan and was there for a personal trip. That personal trip, that's bullshit. I don't believe that. I believe she knew. I believe she knew exactly what was going on. Okay, so that's basically everything they saying about that, right? Okay, so now, like I said, the personal trip thing, I don't believe, that she didn't know nothing. She might not have knew everything, but I believe she knew enough to know that, okay, hey, I'm pretty sure she saw those posts just like everybody else that be on social media song. I don't even really mess with Julio Foolio like that. I like a few songs that he got out, but that's about it for the most part. And I seen the post that he put on the internet. You know what I'm saying? So I know if you're a person who is close, you know, to him, or you close to a circle of people that don't like him, I know you saw them posts. So you ain't gonna be able to, you can't convince me that you went down to Tampa thinking y'all was just going down there for a personal trip when you knew that he was gonna be down there celebrating his birthday. So like I ain't going for that. But now let's get into day 5 of this trial footage, and we're gonna see how these attorneys handling this defense. Let's get it. Now, mind you, the first part of this video is muted. I think they muted it because they didn't really want, you know, people to hear what they was talking about. I don't understand why, but, you know, hey, it's YouTube. It is what it is. Let me fast forward this till we get some sound.
Are you worried that using your home address for business
And of course,
puts
when
your
we finally
privacy
get the
at risk?
sound, it's going to be
At
advertised.
iPostal One, we can help. So,
that's Rashard Murphy right there. The first guy that you were seeing, that's Isaiah Chance. Look at Barney Fife sitting behind him. Look at Barney Fife. This guy said he looked like he about 70 years old. He just sitting there looking like, man, what's going on here? I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Looking at Rashard Murphy, right? Like, he looked completely different from what he looked like when he came out that apartment when they picked him up. You know what I'm saying? He looked completely different. He don't even look like no gang member. He don't look like he'll hurt nothing. He look like one of them studious guys, you know. Look like he could be a professor in a college somewhere. See, Rashard Murphy, he been through this before. He know what's going on. He like, yeah, I'm about to trim my hair down real good, because his dreads didn't look like that. His dreads was way different when they picked him up. So he done trimmed this shit down, cleaned it up, tightened it up. You know, he got his nice little suit on or whatever. You know what I'm saying? He like, yeah, I've been through this before. I know how this go. I'm gonna go up in here and I'm gonna look like a college professor. They gonna be like, nah, he don't look like he'll hurt nothing. Oh man. No. We need some sound, man. I don't know what they do.
Writing
Okay,
on a
here we go.
video of some kind before that interview.
Yes.
When you entered the interview room, did you know which dominant hand was utilized by Rashard Murphy in the video that you had observed from that prior video?
In the prior video, which occurred sometime before.
Yeah.
Okay, so right there, I guess during that line of questioning, right, I guess the defense, you know, one of the defense attorneys decided to ask the judge if they can approach the bench, so they muted it again because they don't want y'all to know, you know, what they're up there talking to the judge about. I don't know why they do that, but we're going to fast forward it a little bit more. All right.
Tampa Police Department had a press conference in reference to this investigation at the conclusion of the arrest of the 3 other defendants, and that was all over the news.
And that would have been in the days leading
Yeah, I
up
got my
to
wife
Rashad
sitting over
Murphy's
here in the
arrest?
background. Y'all can't see her because she's
Did
not
Rashad Murphy
on
also
camera.
indicate to you that he had
But
read
she's
through
sitting
the
over here
probable
taking
cause of
notes.
search warrant
She gonna
that
be
was
the next
executed on the
content
vehicle?
creator.
Yes.
Did he discuss with you that
Nah,
he
let
he
me
knew
stop
some
messing with y'all,
facts
man.
that surrounded the case or surrounded why he would be arrested?
He insinuated he had knowledge in reference to that. Yes.
In the first version of the events of that weekend that you asked Mr. Murphy about, did you ask him directly whether he had booked an Airbnb in his name?
I did.
Did Mr. Murphy initially deny that?
Yes.
Did he also deny allowing anyone else to book an Airbnb in his name?
Yes.
Now see, let's pause right there for 1 second, right? Okay, she asked if he questioned Mr. Rashad Murphy about booking an Airbnb in Tampa in his name. He said yes, he did, and he denied it. You know, he answered that right away. But then she said, hey, he also denied letting somebody else book it in his name. And he had to think for about 10 seconds on the answer before he came back. So I don't know about that, man. I don't know. I think you might have slipped up right there, but let's keep going.
As you go on with your interview, or at some point during the course of your interview, with denials that come from defendant Rashad Murphy, do you slowly start to reveal some information that's come to light throughout the course of the investigation?
Yes. The beginning of the interview I would describe was me offering Mr. Rashad Murphy an opportunity to share his side of the story truthfully. Once I afforded him that opportunity, I began to share actual facts in reference to this, which began to pivot some of his story.
I want to start with the first revelation, if that's what we can call it, okay? So after the...
Okay, so let me explain to y'all that little statement he just made, where he said that, you know, in the beginning, Mr. Murphy was basically denying everything. But then, and this is a classic tactic that detectives use, you know what I'm saying? So they give you an opportunity to basically tell your side of the story. You know what I'm saying? And of course, like if you a street nigga, right? And you out there like that, you know, even if you know you guilty, you're going to be like, man, I don't know what you talking about, bro. I don't know nothing about nothing. You know what I'm saying? So now that's what he did. He gave Mr. Murphy, Rashad Murphy, he gave him the opportunity to tell his side of the story, and he did. You know, but then after he told his side of the story, he started sharing facts of the case. You know, and if you ever been federally charged with a crime, right? We all know the feds work way different than the state. You know, and 9 times out of 10, when the feds come after you, they got you. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes, you know, depending on the individual that they looking for, they'll rush some shit and they might mess it up. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, the feds, right, they got a 90+ conviction rate. 90+, meaning that they don't lose very often. You know what I'm saying? And for those of y'all that don't understand this, right, that 90+ conviction rate, that's not all, you know, like people going to trial and being convicted by a jury. That's a lot of plea deals being put in place. A lot of people pleading out. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, it is very difficult to beat the feds, because when the feds come after you, they got you. The feds will build a case on you for months, years before they come get you. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm just, you know, I just found that funny that he said, you know, when I shared the facts, you know, his story started to pivot. Of course it did, because he now know that you know some shit. But let's keep going.
Denials of having possessed the silver Chevy Cruze, and did you ask if he was in Tampa?
I asked him to be in Tampa multiple times.
And he initially denies that.
Multiple times.
Now, do you first reveal that
As he
there is
should.
cell phone evidence that was retrieved from the arrest on June 26th?
And I wasn't in Tampa. Fuck you talking about?
which includes a message of Mr. Rashad Murphy booking an Airbnb.
Yes, I do share with him in reference to the message about the Airbnb.
Do you then obtain a subsequent version of events from Rashad Murphy about what happened that weekend, now taking that information that you've revealed into consideration?
At that point, when I provided him that information about the text message and Airbnb and it being addressed to him, Mr. Rashad Murphy says that he provided someone a picture of his ID to book the Airbnb.
Okay, so you see what he said? Once again, after he shared the facts of what he knew about the case already, you know, because in the beginning he said he wasn't even in Tampa. He said he did not book an Airbnb in his name, and he didn't allow anybody else to book one in his name. He said he wasn't even in Tampa at all. But then once the facts were shared, now he's starting to switch it up and say, oh, you know, yeah, I was in Tampa, you know, and, you know, I gave somebody a copy of my ID so they can book it. You know what I'm saying? See, this what I be meaning, man. Listen, when you did make the decision to go to trial, right? You got to understand, or even during the interrogation, right? If you're going to make the decision to say, hey, listen, you know, I'm denying this. You got to always keep in mind, what evidence do they already have? Because if they done picked you up for questioning, that means they know something. At least something. They know at least enough to pick you up and question you. Meaning that they have some type of either witness saying that they know you was there, or they have some type of evidence that can prove that you was there. So now if you say that you wasn't there, okay, I know that you was there because I got camera footage that puts you there. So I know you lying right from the gate. So it's like, that's the downside to going to trial and trying to lie your way out of some shit, basically. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep in mind, you know, and you always got to, you know, keep that ace in the hole to say, okay, listen, let me see what they know already. I'm going to deny shit. You know what I'm saying? So like my take on this, right, is that he did what, you know, any real nigga should have done. You know what I'm saying? He denied everything, which he should have. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying, where he fucked up is that he didn't have his story put together all the way. All that time he was on the run, because I think it took them a couple months to catch him. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken. So all that time you was on the run, right? You were supposed to be sitting there putting your plan together. You're supposed to be sitting there saying, okay, look, if they do happen to pick me up on this, you know what I'm saying? Because you like, we got to understand this, people. When you commit a crime, you may get away for a minute, but eventually they going to catch your ass. You know what I'm saying? So the whole time that you running, you need to be putting your plan together and putting your story together, so when they pick you up, you know exactly what you're going to say. And when they come with this angle, you know exactly how to back that down. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that's where he fucked up. You know, he didn't go in there and say, okay, look, let me see what they got first. I'm going to deny everything. Let me see what they got. And then my plan, if they come with this, I'm going to say this. If they come with this, I'm going to say that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he really thought it through like that. But let's keep going.
You also give any indication about having provided someone with a vehicle?
Yes, he told me that he allowed someone to borrow the silver Chevrolet Cruze.
But still, in this version, not in Tampa.
Correct.
Do you, throughout the course of the investigation, continue to ask whether the defendant was in Tampa?
I asked him if he was in Tampa, if he had ever been to Tampa at all, ever. I asked it in a variety of ways, but he continued to say no for a period of time.
Producers, this plugin helps you finish your tracks way faster. Check this out. I'm going to start with this loop that I made here.
Oh, my bad. Hold up. My bad, y'all.
Did you ask the defendant whether he was physically present in Tampa ever?
Yes.
Did he initially give you one response to that question?
His initial response to me asking if he had ever physically been in Tampa, his response to that was no.
At the end of the interview, does he ultimately admit that he has been to Tampa before?
Yes. He couldn't recall when that time frame was.
So after these denials, it is just that he gave the vehicle and his Airbnb information and his IDs to another individual. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you reveal additional evidence after his denial of being in Tampa that actually puts him in Tampa from the TPD investigation with the Uber driver?
I do.
And what's that information?
Once we got to a point in the interview that I felt he wasn't going to share with me that he had ever been in Tampa, it was at that point I shared with him that there was an Uber ride that existed where he occupied an Uber that traveled from Tampa back to Jacksonville on June 23rd.
Now, when you...
Now, see, look, that's what I'm talking about. See how he revealed that evidence, you know, after you done already denied of ever being there. So, see, that's the shit that you got to think about, right? You got to think about, you got to know ahead of time that they going to ask the question of, was you in Tampa during this incident? You say no. Okay, have you ever been to Tampa at all? Nah, I ain't never been there. You know what I'm saying? So you wasn't there during the incident. You ain't never been there. Nah. Okay, so now, they come with the question, okay, well, listen, I got Uber footage that puts you in Tampa taking an Uber back to Jacksonville. Now, like I said, listen, I'm not saying that whatever response you give to that is going to, nullify anything. You know what I'm saying? But a smart motherfucker is going to be like, hey, look, man, look. All right, listen. Here's the deal, right? Look, I had a homie of mine that was down in Tampa, he was down there partying, whatever. He asked me to come down. So, yeah, I shot down to go hang out with my homeboy. But look, I know I said I wasn't in Tampa, but look, I ain't got nothing to do with this, right? You know what I'm saying? Because listen, let me say this, right? That video footage from the Tesla that they got, right? I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. That's some great footage. That's 4K footage. You know what I'm saying? But honestly, looking at it, right? And I've looked at that footage several times. I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. I cannot look at that footage and concretely say that it's them guys. Okay, yes, there's footage of one guy being light-skinned. So you can say, okay, Sean Gathright is light-skinned, so that's him. But I mean, that's, to me, that's just not enough. I don't think that's enough for a jury to be like, yeah, that's him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I just don't see that footage being enough to concretely say, yeah, that footage proves that it was these guys. You know what I'm saying? So I'm iffy on the footage, right? Don't get me wrong, it's great footage. But I just don't see that footage proving, without a shadow of a doubt that that's them guys. But let's keep going.
Provided this information about an Uber and him having been identified in that circumstance back to Jacksonville, did he still deny that was him or deny the identification?
Yes, he challenged that fact with by asking me, how does that mean I was in Tampa?
Did you also then reveal that Mr. Murphy had been captured on Sean Gathwright's residential Vivint camera returning in the Uber?
Judge, we're going to object to the continuing nature of the lady by the state and testifying.
At that point in the interview, I then share with Rashad Murphy that there is video surveillance at Sean Gathwright's home that shows Rashad Murphy, Isaiah Chanson, and Alicia Andrews exiting an Uber vehicle and with bags and walking up to Sean Gathwright's house.
When you revealed this information to him, did you actually show any kind of video footage or anything like that?
No.
When you advised him if this information was true, What does that say about your version of events? Did he respond?
Yes, he said, because I asked Rashad Murphy, how does this reflect your prior statements to me at this point in the interview? And he said that contradicts everything I told you and makes me look like a liar.
When you
Of course. Of course. Everything that you just told me before I revealed the facts of what I know already just shot down your whole statement. You told me you wasn't there. I can prove that you was there. You told me that you never booked an Airbnb and you didn't let anybody else do it in your name. I can prove that too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, of course, that's the only response he can give you. You know what I'm saying? You basically caught me lying. You know what I'm saying? So like, don't get me wrong, right? Him lying during interrogation, that's going to play a factor in the jury's verdict. Let's make that clear. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're 100% innocent, you have no reason to lie about anything. You know what I'm saying? You can say, yeah, I was in Tampa. Yeah, I booked the Airbnb, but I was there for this reason. I don't know nothing about this happening. I heard about it, but I wasn't a part of that. You know, I know some of the people that was involved, but I ain't got nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? That's what, like, if you completely innocent, there's nothing wrong with saying that. You're not saying that they're the guys that did it or they the ones that did it. You're just simply saying, yeah, hey, I heard about it. I seen it on the news. You know, the names that was mentioned, you know, I know a few of them. Yes, I was in Tampa during this time, but I was down there for this reason. I was doing this. Like, I don't know nothing about this. And then, you know, when they come with the facts and they say, well, hey, you know, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you innocent. So you ain't got no reason to be like, hey, no, that's not what happened. You know what I'm saying? Look, so it's like, you know, you guilty of something. And see, this is the thing that we have I have an issue with, right? Because listen, we know, you know, and I don't want to get off subject too much, but listen, we know that in the Pooh Shiesty case, right? This case he got going on with Gucci Mane, right? Okay, we know now, just recently, I think it was yesterday, his lawyer, Bradford Cohen, withdrew from the case. You know what I'm saying? So now, let's look at the track record of Bradford Cohen, right? Bradford Cohen has represented some high-profile rappers, Lil Wayne, you know, Pooh Shiesty before when he pled to the 63 months on the gun charge. You know what I'm saying? Bradford Cohen is known for getting his high-profile cases and his high-profile clients to plead out. You know what I'm saying? He's never won a case with a not guilty verdict. It's always been his clients pleading out. So, you know, he withdrew, and I believe he withdrew from that case because he looked at the facts and he knew without a shadow of a doubt, there's no way in the world I'm going to get you off of this. There ain't no way in the world no attorney's going to get you off of this. You know what I'm saying? The only way an attorney can get him off of that case, you know, or get you off of a case that has so much evidence weighing against you, you know what I'm saying? They basically have to compromise their integrity. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some lawyers out here that for the right money, they'll do whatever. But then there's also some out here that have reputations and they like, nah, bro, like, I can get you, you know, you facing this. I can get you to plead out to this, but that's about the best I can do. And Pooh Shiesty made it very clear he wasn't finna identify nobody that was in that room with him. He wasn't finna testify. He wasn't finna do none of that. So it's like you fighting an uphill battle at that point. So, but let's get into the content, man. I just wanted to bring that up as a little side note.
Spoke to him or asked him again about the Uber. Did he initially recall getting in an Uber?
No.
Did he ultimately admit to getting in an Uber?
Yes.
Did he ultimately admit to riding in that Uber?
Yes.
And where did he ride in that Uber from?
From Tampa.
That's the sound of an American oil company hard at work. Want to be a part of it? Listen up.
Hello, my name.
Did you?
Look, real quick about the Uber, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a smart move to not, drive back in the same car that you drove down in. That was a smart move, but I mean, I don't think it was very smart to take an Uber. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, the downside to taking an Uber, right? Once that Uber driver catches wind of this case, even if he feel like for a split second, or she feel like, whoever it is, even if they feel like for a split second, okay, look, that sounds like the people that I picked up in Tampa and drove back to Jacksonville. What you think that Uber driver gonna do? They going straight to the police and say, hey, look, I heard a article on the news saying something about, some guys fled Tampa, in an Uber and back to Jacksonville after this incident. I'm just calling in because, I picked up some people from Tampa in an Uber and drove them back to Jacksonville. So I don't know how well that information relates to y'all case, but I just want to let y'all know. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I don't think it was a smart move to take an Uber. I mean, I think, like I said, I don't think they really thought this through. But, we're going to see what the outcome is. Let's continue.
At some point, exit the interview room with Detective Griffin.
Yes.
What was the purpose, at least at this point in the interview, of you exiting at this particular time?
I wanted to provide Rashad Murphy a moment by himself in the interview room after I had shared the video surveillance facts. So I allowed him to just sit by himself and think about what I shared with him for a few moments prior to returning.
Is that a strategy that you employ as a detective during the course of your interviews, or is that something that you're also trained to do?
I do it occasionally.
In this particular case, did you actually re-enter the interview room with Rashad Murphy?
Yes.
And when you re-entered that time, is that the only break you took, where you exited?
Yes.
When you re-entered the interview room with Detective Griffin, was there a new version of the events of what occurred on the weekend of June 23rd going into June 22nd going into June 23rd?
Yes.
Did you directly ask Rashad Murphy whether he was in Tampa on June 22nd or June 23rd?
Yes.
What was Rashad Murphy's response to having been in Tampa that weekend?
So I entered back into the interview room, and upon entering, that's the first question I asked him. I asked him if he was going to be truthful about being in Tampa during that weekend. He responds by providing a news story that he had not shared over the course of the past hour and a half during the interview.
Did he, in that news story, provide a new character as well, or a new individual?
Yes.
And who is that?
He identified himself as traveling to Tampa on June 23rd with a person named Darius Beals.
Did he identify that person by legal name, or was there a nickname that was utilized in the interview?
He initially identified him as Fizzle, which is Darius's nickname.
And did you inquire about the legal name of that individual?
Yes.
Did he provide the name Darius Beals to you?
Yes, he did.
At the time that Charles Jones was killed, was
Okay, let's stop right there for a minute. Okay, so listen. Let's look at this, right? You got 5 people on this case. One's already been convicted, Alicia Andrews. She's already been convicted and sentenced, I believe, already, because it says she was scheduled to be sentenced in December of last year. So she's already been sentenced, so she's already doing her time. Now you got these 4 other guys, they're being tried together, but they're represented by different attorneys. Okay, so listen, right? Here's the thing about having co-defendants. You basically have to count on everybody staying solid. No matter what the evidence is, you gotta hope and pray that everybody stays solid and everybody stick to the script. And 9 times out of 10, it does not go down like that. So this man done already gave up somebody's government name during an interrogation. Now you identified this man by his nickname, Fizzle. That's all you had to say. You could have said, hey, I don't know his government name. I just know him by Fizzle. But you You said, I went to Tampa with my homie Fizzle. He said, well, what's his real name? Darius Bills. So you think this nigga gonna stay solid during this whole trial? Hell no. He folding already. You know what I'm saying? So, like, worst case scenario, I believe they gonna start turning on each other. They're gonna start turning on each other because each attorney, right, their primary focus, their primary goal is to exclude their client. So they're all going up there with the same defense. Listen, you got evidence to say that this person did this, but my client didn't have nothing to do with that. So eventually what that's going to do is, with these attorneys all fighting against each other, essentially, like they making it seem like they working together, but they all fighting against each other. They all trying to disclude their client's role in this situation. And that's going to cause these guys to turn on each other. Because you got this guy, he already given up government names in interrogations. You know what I'm saying? You could have said you didn't know that guy's real name. So yeah, I don't think he gonna stay silent, but we're gonna keep going.
Darius Beals, aka Fizzle, living.
When Charles Jones was killed on June 23rd, at that point, Darius Beals was still living, yes.
At the time of your interview on July 30th of 2024, do you know whether Fizzle or Darius Beals was still alive?
At this point, on July 30th, when I interviewed Rashad Murphy, Darius Beals was deceased.
And are you familiar with the individual named Darius Beals?
I am, yes.
When he advised that he came to Tampa with Darius Beals, did he advise where they came from?
Can you be a travel advisor without quitting your 9 to 5? Actually, yes. We're Fora, the modern travel agency.
See, this is my issue with this detective, right? Like some of these questions, it's like he gotta really think on the answer before he gives it. Now it's like, listen, you did this interrogation, bro. Like you should pretty much know, everything, that took place. You shouldn't have to think this long on some of these questions, man. So I don't know. I don't know how well that's gonna play with the jury. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if the jury is going to take any of that into consideration, but it don't look good.
Ask that again?
Did he say where they came from when he told you he came to Tampa with Fizzle?
I believe he said they traveled to Tampa from Jacksonville.
Did you ask him specifically for a time that they would have arrived or a date that they would have arrived to Tampa?
Yes.
And what was the response to that question?
He advised that himself and Fizzle, Darius Beals, traveled to Tampa on June 23rd in the early mornings, afternoon hours.
Do you remember the specific time that the defendant gave you that he would have come to or arrived in Tampa with Darius Beals?
Is it okay if I reference my report?
Would it refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Take a look at the report. Once your memory is refreshed, then please look up and answer the question.
I ain't gonna lie, he's sitting there looking like he know. He's sitting there looking like, man, I'm finna go to jail for the rest of my life. He just got that look of defeat on his face already.
Okay, my memory's refreshed.
Did he give a specific time frame for when Rashad Murphy himself and Darius Beals actually traveled to Tampa?
He indicates it was between 5 or 6 a.m.
On June 23rd.
Yes.
And the homicide of Charles Jones, do you know what time that occurred?
I know it was in the early morning hours, between 4 or 5 in the morning.
So the statement from Rashad Murphy was that he arrived to Tampa between 5 a.m. and
6 a.m. Travel to.
Do you know what time Mr. Murphy would have then arrived at the Airbnb in Jacksonville?
With that estimation, it would be approximately 3.5 hour drive.
Is that your estimation that you're giving us today?
Based on my travels from Jacksonville to Tampa, yes.
Upon arriving to the address or the location of the Airbnb, did Rashad Murphy tell you what he did?
Yes.
What is it that he did?
He said he went to the rear of the door at this Airbnb, knocked on it, and learned that no one was inside and that the people occupying this Airbnb were leaving upon his recent arrival, and they were leaving in the Uber.
Did, prior to saying he knocked on that door, he also indicate he went through the door to check out the Airbnb?
Yes.
And did you confront him with whether he was captured on the Ring camera at the front door of the Airbnb?
I believe I inquired about that, and he said he wouldn't have been on the video because he went to the rear door.
So the statement from Rashad Murphy was that he went through the door and checked out the Airbnb, and then that he went to the door and knocked on the Airbnb, and no one answered.
To the rear door, and no one answered.
What did he do after that in the early morning hours of the 23rd?
Once he realized no one was inside the Airbnb, he went and made contact with people that were occupying an Uber that was traveling back to Jacksonville from Tampa.
So the statement was that upon arriving around 8 a.m. or something, the Uber driver was there and the Airbnb occupants were getting in the Uber.
Correct.
After Rashad Murphy advises that, did you confront him with receipts of when the Uber driver actually arrived to the Airbnb? Not physical receipts, but did you tell him when the Uber driver arrived to the Airbnb?
No, I don't believe I shared that with him.
Had you indicated that, would the video recording or a transcript of that video have been a more accurate depiction of what that communication was?
Yes.
So this version of events that was provided was that after the defendant's arrival to the Airbnb, the occupants of the Airbnb were already outside.
Yes.
When you were discussing the Uber vehicle itself, did Rashad Murphy describe that vehicle to you?
He kept calling it a black truck.
Did you ultimately confirm that it was, or did you discuss that with him in some way?
No, he kept saying black truck, and I think at one point I said, "Do you mean a black SUV?"
But he did confirm that he entered that Uber vehicle?
Yes.
Did you confront him about his having traveled there just in those morning hours and then immediately traveled back to Jacksonville?
Correct.
And what was his response to that?
He continued to deny this Uber ride.
Base 44 super agents. The next thing you can't
Oh,
live
have
without.
mercy. Yeah,
No
they,
setup. Just say hello.
I don't think they're gonna beat this. At least not him.
And how he was able to arrive to Sean Gathrigh's house in the Uber ride. But ultimately, he does admit that he rode in the Uber from Tampa back to Jacksonville.
Did you inquire with him about whether they stopped in utilizing that Uber for food or gas?
I asked that. I don't believe he provided a response to it.
When you were interviewing Rashad Murphy specifically about his time in Tampa, did you directly ask him whether he possessed a phone?
I did ask that.
What was Mr. Rashad Murphy's initial response to your inquiry about whether he had a phone with him in the early morning hours of June 23rd?
He initially says he has a cell phone on him.
Did he attempt to give you a phone number?
Once he provided me that answer, I inquired about the phone number for that phone.
And Did that statement change as well?
When I asked him for the phone number for the phone, he attempted to provide some numbers. It wasn't a full phone number. And then he responds that he didn't have a phone.
Did Rashad Murphy ever claim to be using someone else's phone?
He also says, once he tells me he didn't have a phone, he then says that he was using the cell phone belonging to Darius Beals.
Throughout the course of your interview with Rashad Murphy, did you confront him about whether he knows Charles Jones, a.k.a. Julio Foolio?
I asked him if he knew him, yes.
What was Mr. Rashad Murphy's response to that?
He said he knew of him, but didn't know him personally and had never seen him before.
And did you inquire of Rashad Murphy about whether he knew an individual by the name of Sean Gathright?
I did ask that, yes.
Did you inquire as to how well they knew each other?
I did.
And what was Mr. Murphy's response about whether they had been in contact before?
He said he knew Sean. He addressed him as Sean. That's what he knew him as, and that he knew him through another individual. But he describes his relationship with Sean as more of like acquaintances, that he had met him a few times.
Other than the return from Tampa on the Vivint camera, did you discuss with Rashad Murphy about whether he had been on that camera or to that residence before?
Yes. Rashad Murphy tells me that he had been to Sean Gathright's home several times.
How about Isaiah Chance? Did he admit to knowing an individual by the name of Isaiah Chance?
He did confirm he knew who Isaiah Chance was.
And did he admit to the nature of that relationship?
Yes, he said he had hung around Isaiah a few times. He described him as good people.
How about Davion Murphy?
Described Davion Murphy as family, his cousin.
At some point during the interview, when speaking with Rashad Murphy about the death of...
Okay, so listen. Okay, you done admitted that you know all these guys on this case with you. You admitted that Davion's your cousin, he family. You said that you and Sean Gathright, y'all acquaintances, more like, than close friends, meaning that, you know the guy, but, it's not like y'all hang out every day or whatever. You admitted that you knew Isaiah Chance. You know what I'm saying? So you admitted that you know all these guys. So it's like, it's kind of questionable of why you would travel to Tampa, right, with another friend of yours by the name of Fizzle. You get to Tampa, you go to the Airbnb, you go to the back door of the Airbnb, you knock on it, nobody answers, and then somehow you find out that the people that was in the Airbnb is now getting into an Uber. So, I'm assuming that the Uber picked him up in the front. You know what I'm saying? So you go around to the front, you make contact with them, they get in the Uber, whoop. So you jump in the Uber with them and ride back to ride back to Jacksonville. So it's like, this is why I say I don't really think that this guy is going to beat this case. He basically fucked himself. He started telling a bunch of bullshit right from the dope. You know what I'm saying? Now, personally, I feel like, okay, listen, it's already known that Davion Murphy is your cousin, y'all family. So that should have been the only guy you should have admitted to knowing. Yeah, I know Davion, that's my cousin. The rest of them guys, I don't really know them like that. I met them a few times, or I seen them around a few times, but I don't really know them. I don't really be socializing with them like that. Like, I don't really know much about them. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that you said you know all these guys, like, it just make you look guilty, bro. Like, so what would you be, like, all these guys, and these guys is from the opposing gang that you represent. So why would you be in Tampa with these guys? Okay, you went to Tampa with somebody else. So where was the Fizzle guy when you jumped in the Uber with them? Where did Fizzle go? You know what I'm saying? What did he do? Drive back on his own, or what did he do? Drop you off and then roll out. Like, I don't know, man. It just don't make sense. But let's keep going.
Charles Jones or Julio Foolio, does he also mention an individual by the name of Joe Rod or Gerard?
Yes.
And who is that individual to Rashad Murphy?
Gerard Adams is a cousin to Rashad Murphy, went by the nickname Spaz.
Did Rashad Murphy also mention Spin Up Benz during the course of his interview?
Yes.
What was the nature or the context of him referencing Spin Up Benz?
We were discussing drill rap music in Jacksonville, and Rashad Murphy was expressing that he did not appreciate the lyrical the bad lyrics within this Jacksonville drill rap, and he expressed to Spin Up Benz that he shouldn't be making that type of music.
Are you familiar with who Spin Up Benz is?
Yes.
Do you know the legal name of Spin Up Benz?
His name is Noah Williams.
And lastly, did you confront Mr. Rashad Murphy about J. Breezy?
Yes.
Did you speak with him about how J. would have been relevant to the investigation?
Briefly, yes.
And what was his response, if anything, to the link to J. Breezy?
I don't recall what his response to that was.
Did you make any inquiries to Rashad Murphy about the payments that were made for securing the Airbnb on Gazebo Pond Lane?
Yes.
And was that in reference to a J. Breezy?
I was made aware at some point that it was, yes.
Do you know the identity of J. Breezy?
I do, yes.
What's his legal name?
Jacory Rivers.
May I have one moment?
Yes.
Like him, he the only one for real that look like, you know what I'm saying, he confident that he can get off. You know what I'm saying? I don't think none of these guys is going to
Click on the Create Image icon and choose an AI model to generate an image.
But look, if you, like, when the camera pans to them, right, if you look at them and you just look at the facial expressions that they got on their face, right, like him, he kind of got a look of, damn, it's a possibility that I can be convicted on this, but he ain't gave up hope. He like, yeah, you know, they got a lot of information on these guys, but they ain't really got much on me. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, he got that look on his face like, yeah, you know, I ain't giving up hope. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna see what all they got on the rest of them. You know, like Sean Gaithwaite, when they panned to him, you know, he looked like, you know, he just don't know. He looked like, man, look, this some bullshit. I'm gonna go to jail for the rest of my life. Like Isaiah Chance, he just looked like he don't care. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta think about who he is. He a controlling, abusive nigga already. So it's like, you know, maybe going to jail for the rest of his life don't bother him. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I'm just saying the looks on these guys' faces, like he the only one, like Davion, he the only one. This is Davion right here. He the only one that got that look like, look, bro, we might go down, but I ain't giving up hope. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh no, it sound like y'all niggas is cooked. But me, I might stand a chance, brother. But like I said, man, you know, I don't know. I still think all these guys is going to turn on each other. You know, listen, if I had to pick one to stay solid the whole trial, it would be Davion. I would pick Davion. Because, like, as far as what we know, like, Davion ain't said much of nothing. Everybody else done basically incriminated themselves. You know, when they was interrogating Sean Gaithwaite, this nigga tried to escape through the ceiling tiles. What you trying to escape for if you innocent? You know, I don't know. Yeah, that move made you look guilty as hell, bro. You trying to escape the interrogation room through some ceiling tiles, bro. Yeah, you guilty than a motherfucker. Let's keep going, though.
Sir, at the conclusion of your interview with Rashad Murphy, was he placed under arrest or taken into custody and transported to the jail for his homicide warrant?
Yes.
Did you notify Detective Ramos about the contents of the interview that had been provided by Rashad Murphy?
I did. I supplied it to Tampa and Detective Juan Ramos.
Ultimately, after July 30th of 2024, you have 4 of the 5 subjects that have arrest warrants for this homicide in custody.
Yes.
What do you then do as it relates to the 5th subject from July on?
Myself and other detectives within the gang unit continued our efforts to locate and apprehend Davion Murphy in reference to his active arrest warrant for this incident.
Before I have you talk to me about the efforts that you took during the course of the interview with Rashad Murphy, did you have a sufficient opportunity to see his face? Rashad Murphy. I apologize.
Ask that again, I'm sorry.
Did you have an opportunity to see Rashad Murphy's face during the course of your interview with him in Jacksonville?
Yes.
Would you be able to identify the individual that you know to be Rashad Murphy today?
Yes.
Can you do so?
Yes, he is sitting at a table that's positioned to my right with his defense counsel, and Mr. Rashad Murphy's wearing a gray jacket with a dark-colored button-down shirt underneath.
May the record so reflect.
The record shall so reflect.
I apologize. So you took some efforts to locate or execute the final arrest warrant in this case on Davion Murphy.
Yes, ma'am.
What are those efforts that you took?
We followed up on leads. There would be some leads that people would call in anonymously, so we'd follow up on that. We would conduct surveillance at known family members' houses on occasion in search of Davion Murphy and other apprehension efforts to locate him, but those were all unsuccessful.
When you say the location efforts, you go to...
Look, he looking at them niggas like, yeah, nigga, I know that shit was unsuccessful because I wasn't there. That nigga got the fuck up out of Jacksonville. He was the only smart one. He got his ass up out of there.
Multiple places?
Yes.
Do you go to multiple residences?
Yes.
Is it just you that's looking for Davion Murphy at this time?
No.
Were there any press conferences?
Look, you see that move he just did? Fucking shaking his collar. He like, yeah, y'all niggas ain't got nothing on me, man. I'm gonna walk this shit down.
Asking for assistance in this search as well from the public.
I run a podcast solo. No producer, no editor.
Man, see,
no
this shit
tech
so long,
skills,
bro. This
just
shit like
rivers.
5 hours
I get
long. That's why they
high-quality
got so many
podcasts.
ads in this shit. We not gonna sit here the whole 5 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all know that now.
The first 3 defendants, Alicia, Isaiah, and Sean, were arrested. There was a press conference in reference to the 2 outstanding people, Rashad and Davion. That was early in July, though. I believe that was the only press conference that I remember.
How about news or media outlets writing stories or putting out stories? Have you seen those that Davion was still outstanding?
Yes.
Was that something that was happening in Jacksonville?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Ultimately, was Davion Murphy arrested?
Yes, he was.
Do you recall the date of that arrest?
I believe it was January 6th of 2025.
What were the circumstances of that arrest?
Davion Murphy was located inside of an apartment inside of Jacksonville. Our SWAT team responded to that apartment complex and ultimately took Davion Murphy into custody at that location.
Oh, my bad. So he was still in Jacksonville. I know it was one of them that got caught in Georgia somewhere. I thought it was him. But, you know, I guess he still was in Jacksonville. Unless he went to Georgia and then came back to Jacksonville. But I know it's one of them that I believe they said they caught him in Georgia somewhere.
Where would he have been transported after he was taken into custody?
He was transported to downtown to our interview room.
Is that interview room, also video and audio recorded?
Yes, it is.
And do you recall how long the interview that you conducted with Davion Murphy took?
I would estimate it was approximately 2 hours.
Just as we discussed with the earlier interview, did you provide that interview at its conclusion to detectives here in Tampa?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have an opportunity to actually sit in on the interview of Davion Murphy?
I did.
And did you read him any warnings in advance of that interview?
Prior to beginning the interview, which is common practice, I read Davion Murphy his constitutional rights prior to asking him questions about this incident.
Who was present with you during the course of his interview?
During the interview with Davion Murphy, Detective Richard Nieder sat in on the interview with me.
Now, when you have another detective sitting on the interviews, I think you said Griffin sat in on the last one and Nieder sat in. Are there rules that you did tell us why there would be one leading detective?
There's not rules. However, there usually is an appointed lead person asking questions, so the two detectives aren't speaking over each other.
It just happens to be you for Rashad Murphy's interview and now Davion Murphy's interview.
Yes.
And did Davion Murphy elect to give a statement to yourself and Detective Nieder?
He did.
Is that interview conducted in a different location than the interview of Rashad Murphy?
No, it was conducted at the same building.
During the course of the interview with Davion Murphy, when you exit the interview room, is there something that you do or is regular practice in Jacksonville with the audio in the rooms?
There is equipment for us to turn on music into these interview rooms, so the persons that are inside the interview rooms can't hear between the thin walls what's going on outside.
Okay, so there's something about the building itself that you turn the music on?
Yes.
Are you and the other detectives outside of that interview room discussing the case, or what are you doing?
That's what we usually do, yes.
And when you have a subject that's in an interview room and you are outside of that interview room, is it regular practice that you want them to hear what you're saying or do not want them to hear what you're saying?
You would prefer them not to hear what you're saying?
Throughout the course of the interview with Davion Murphy, did you play the audio or whatever it was that you were mentioning after you would exit the room?
Yes.
So will we hear or see that on an interview with Mr. Davion Murphy audio when you leave the room?
Correct.
Is there any specific preference or choice or rhyme or reason to what you play?
No, it's preset to some radio station. It's just it usually just plays like old hits music.
And when you re-enter the interview room, do you turn that music off, radio station off?
Yeah, so then upon entering back into the interview room, the music would be turned off.
Do you have an opportunity to see into the interview room or observe what's happening inside of that room from a video feed of some kind?
We have a remote viewing spot in this same building where we can watch what's occurring in the interview room, despite us not physically being in there.
And was that the same when Davion Murphy was interviewed by your agency on January 6th of 2026?
Yes.
What was the version, well, before the interview actually even formally starts, are you able to observe Davion Murphy inside of the interview room?
Yes.
What, if anything, is he doing?
Singing.
Okay. Are you able to understand or hear him singing?
I can hear him, yes.
Are there times where he's not singing, he's just talking?
Excuse me, sir, how old were you when you made your first million?
What is this for?
We're trying to get advice for the younger generation.
Yes.
Is there anyone else present in the interview room with him?
No.
Is there anyone making an inquiry of him at that time?
No.
Who is he talking to?
Himself.
Are you able to see these events occurring before the formal interview even starts?
Yes.
As throughout the course of your interview with Davian Murphy, you exit the interview room. Are you still able to see what's happening inside?
Correct.
And are there also additional times where he's talking to himself?
Yes.
What is the, I guess, version of events that you received from Davian Murphy?
Judge, we're going to object and review our previous objections to this testimony.
Prior to responding to that question, Your Honor, may I seek the instruction for Davian Murphy?
Yes. All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, again, statements made by defendant Davian Murphy after the offense occurred. Statements made to law enforcement are admissible only against defendant Davian Murphy. That statement is not admissible evidence against any of the co-defendants. It should not be considered against any of the remaining co-defendants.
Okay, so look at these attorneys right here. We got one, I think there's one sitting right over here with this little light gray jacket on. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, all of these attorneys sitting here, right? I believe this young lady right here is representing Davion. You know, but now look at these attorneys, right? These ain't public defenders. These is paid attorneys. So let's look at these guys. None of these guys is known for anything. They not known for doing music. They not known for being kingpins. They ain't known for nothing. They just known to be associated with, you know, either the ATK gang or the 1200 gang. You know, so where y'all get the money to pay for these attorneys? You know, that's a question that you got to ask. You know, who paid for these attorneys? You know, did Young and Ace allegedly pay for these attorneys? Because like I said, it's been said that the hit was put out by Young and Ace, allegedly. You know, so did Young and Ace pay for y'all attorneys? You know, I mean, that's just something to think about. You know, I thought that was interesting, sitting here looking at these attorneys right here. These ain't no public defenders. These is, you know, high-powered attorneys. You know, so who paying this? Who paying this bill? But let's keep going.
Sir, before briefly discussing the contents, have you had an opportunity to observe Davian Murphy in a position where you could identify him today?
I can, yes.
Do you see him here in this courtroom?
I do.
Would you have an opportunity to please identify him and name an article of clothing he's wearing?
Thank you. He's sitting positioned to my right at a table with his defense counsel, and Mr. Davion Murphy's wearing a black jacket with a white button-down shirt that has stripes under it.
Is that the standing individual at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, for the record.
Hold on. I'm confused. What the fuck did you stand up for? I don't get that. So wait a minute. She asked the detective that's on the stand testifying right now if he could identify you. And when he said he could, your stupid ass gonna stand the fuck up. So you just basically stood up and said, yeah, I'm him. No, you supposed to stay seated and let him identify you just like your cousin did. This nigga stood up. I thought he was standing up for a minute to like maybe stretch his legs or something like that. But this nigga immediately sat the fuck back down after he was identified. What the fuck did you stand up for? You know, he was going to identify you either way. If you had stayed seated, he would have said, hey, yeah, that's Davion Murphy sitting over there to my right. He got the black jacket on with the checkered black and white button-up shirt. You did not have to stand up, bro. You know what I'm saying? So you just stood up in court on trial. Like you just want the world. You want everybody to know, yeah, that's me. I'm Davion. Yeah, I'm the big bad wolf. I'm the one that's finna beat this shit. Nah, nigga, that move right there might have just cost you. I don't know what the hell you was thinking about doing that, but let's keep going. This nigga stood the fuck up like, yeah, I'm him.
Especially in your search for Mr. Murphy, had an opportunity to review the driver's license photo of Davion Murphy as well as the footage from the McDonald's.
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would seek to introduce State's Exhibit 117,
Okay.
38, A, and B, completing that exhibit.
Davion, I don't know what the fuck you was thinking about by standing your ass up in court, bro. What the hell did you think that? Did you think that was a good move to stand up to say, yeah, I'm gonna stand up so he can identify me? No, nigga, stay your ass sitting the fuck down. Your attorney should have told you as soon as you stood up, what are you doing? Sit your ass the fuck back down. Let that nigga identify you.
No, these have not been admitted.
I thought the one of the McDonald's.
Yes, the video from McDonald's, yeah.
Okay, so why they didn't mute it now that her and him talking? They've been muting everything else.
No objection, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, 116A through F.
So this lady right here with the gray jacket on, she must be for the state.
Sir, have you had an opportunity to review the entirety of that video and audio recorded interview?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask you a few specifics about the contents of that video, if I may.
Yeah.
In your observations of the defendant in the interview.
Hold on, look, let's go back for a second. Hold on. Where's she at? Oh, man. Yeah, I don't want to go back too far. Okay, right here. Look at her, right? Look. This is the prosecutor for the state, I'm assuming, right? I just look at her for a second. She looked like one of them girls from the hood that the block done ran through. And now she done became this high-powered prosecutor. Look at her, though. Look, I know you making good money as a prosecutor. Look, she in court. She ain't got her hair done. She just got her shit pulled back. Like she just got up, brushed that shit back to the back, threw that shit in a motherfucking bun, and called it a day. Look at everybody else sitting in the courtroom. They got nice haircuts. You know, they got their shit styled to the side. You know, you got this, I don't know if that's a man or a woman, but you got this person sitting back here in the blue. You know, she got her dreads all tightened up or whatever, he or she. You know, look, you got this person sitting over here. You know, I don't know who that is, but you know, he got his dreads looking all, you know, clean and whatever. You got the young man sitting right here where you can see the top of his head. You know, he got his shit combed to the side. You know, he you know, everybody, you know, they look presentable for a trial, but her, it looked like she just got the fuck up, threw a jacket on, and some pants or whatever, threw a pantsuit on, brushed her shit to the back, threw it in the bun, and said, "Lep, off the court we go." You know what I'm saying? She looked like one of them motherfucking girls that was in the hood when she was young. And the block just ran through her ass. They just was passing her on. Yeah, I hit it too. You know what I'm saying? And now she bitter as hell. She like, yeah, I wish one of you motherfuckers would come through my courtroom. I'm gonna fry your ass. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. Like, come on, girl. You gotta tighten up. You're making too much money to be in court looking like that.
Sir, have you had an opportunity?
Look, she ain't even got a nice blouse on. She just got like a plain white V-neck t-shirt on. What the hell?
I want to ask you a few specifics about the contents of that video, if I may.
Yeah.
In your observations of the defendant in the interview room before you entered the room, did Davion Murphy make any references to a Sean's green ass?
Yes.
What was the statement from Davion Murphy at that point?
I don't remember the specific quotes, but that was the context of it.
Okay, what was he talking about?
At the beginning of the interview?
Yes. Before you entered the interview room.
Hello, my name is Adam.
All right, look, we gonna go ahead. We gonna stop it right there. Like I said, this video is about 5.5 hours long. So we not finna sit here and go through this whole 5.5 hours, right? So we gonna go ahead. We gonna stop it right there. But so far, listen. So far, what I'm gathering, from watching this trial, right? Like I said, all 5 of these guys, well, all 4 of these guys, because Alicia Andrews, she's already been convicted. She was the 5th person. These other 4 guys, they're all on trial together, but they're being represented by different attorneys. And like I said earlier in the video, the primary goal for each one of these attorneys is to exclude their client's role. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that any of these attorneys is, going in this with the notion that their client is going to walk scot-free. You know what I'm saying? I don't think any of them believe that. You know what I'm saying? I just think that their goal is to exclude their client's role and minimize their client's role in it. Because you got to remember, all of these guys are being charged with conspiracy to commit murder, first-degree murder. Like, all of these guys are facing life in prison or possibly the death penalty. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm just looking at it, right? I mean, the only thing I can really see, like I said, is that these attorneys are trying to minimize their client's role, which I'm not saying that's a bad strategy, but the downside to that is that it almost makes it seem like, okay, your attorney is basically minimizing your role in it, but at the same time, he's throwing the rest of us under the bus, or she's throwing the rest of us under the bus. So it's like, I just believe in my mind and from experiences is watching, multiple people on the same case go to court. I just think that at some point, somebody's going to fold, and it's going to cause these guys to turn on each other. That's just speculating. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? But I do feel like, number one, I don't think any of these guys, being as though Alicia Andrews has already been convicted and sentenced for her role in this, and if you really think about this, her and Isaiah Chance played the smallest roles in this whole situation because they didn't have a weapon. They was just essentially the trail people. Okay, every time he moved locations, y'all follow him and let us know where he at, where he going. You know what I'm saying? So being as though she's already been convicted and sentenced, I believe that's the same thing that's going to happen with these guys. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get convicted of something. You're not going to walk away scot-free. So if you're sitting in that courtroom believing in your mind that you're going to walk away from this with no time at all, then you are a fool. You know what I'm saying? This is a federal case. You know what I'm saying? The feds is not finna let you walk scot-free on this. You know what I'm saying? They going to get you somehow, some way. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that, it's too late for these guys to plead out because they're already in trial. So I believe that the jury is sitting there and they listening to all of this information being given. And this is only day 5. They've already had 4 other days. Well, actually today is day 6. You know what I'm saying? So they've had 5 other days, you know what I'm saying, to listen to all of this testimony, right? And it's like, listen, when you a criminal or when you have, ties to criminal activity, it is very difficult to get a jury to take your word over the detective. You know what I'm saying? Now, if your attorney can go in there and discredit the evidence, that's something different. That's nothing that you, the client, is doing. That's what your attorney is doing. That means your attorney is looking at the facts and they're looking at the evidence and then they're saying, hey, they really can't prove this. So we're going to focus on this and we're going to stress this and we're going to poke holes in this. And, so that's what I think is going to happen in this case. I think that, each one of these guys, attorneys, is going to find things that they can poke holes in and try to get their clients, the minimum amount of time that they can possibly get. Now, will these guys get a life sentence? Possibly. Possibly not. You know what I'm saying? We have yet to see how long this trial is going to play out. It's been going on for almost a week now. Matter of fact, tomorrow will be a week. You know what I'm saying? And that's even if they have court tomorrow. Because today is day 6. So this trial has been going on for about a week now. You know what I'm saying? It's a high profile case. So I believe that, the state is going to, go through this with a fine-tooth comb. And they're going to put it all on the table. And just like I said, just from looking at these first 5 days, I think the state is doing a hell of a job. You know what I'm saying? Because the only thing the defense has really done thus far is, like I said before, basically they're all trying to minimize the role of their client. None of the defense has been able to prove that their client wasn't involved in anything. None of them has been able to do that thus far. So, like I said, I just feel like, I don't think these guys is going to walk away from this. Now will they all get a life sentence? I can't really say for sure on that. But, like I said, that was day 5 of the Julio trial. We didn't really go through the whole video because, like I said, that video is about 5.5 hours long, and I'm not finna sit here, for 5.5 hours going through that video. You know what I'm saying? But I believe, there was some testimony from some other people during day 5. I believe they had the girl Alicia Andrews. I think she put forth some testimony in day 5. But y'all get down in the comments, man, and y'all let me know what y'all think so far. Y'all let me know if y'all think these guys is going to walk away from this. Do y'all think they're going to walk away from this? Do y'all feel like they all going to get the life sentence? Or do you feel like, it's going to play out the same way it played out in the Alicia Andrews case? Will these guys get convicted on manslaughter instead of first-degree murder? Will they get convicted on the conspiracy charge, or will they beat it like Alicia did? I don't know. But y'all know what it is, man. It's your boy Blanco's the Keep It Authentic podcast, man.